JJK 263 is definitely one of the most interesting chapters that have dropped recently, and this was supposed to be the part 2 to the last chapter, so it's not like this is its own entire chapter. Remember how last chapter only had 8 pages? Well, this chapter has 13 pages to sort of make up the difference, but it's not a full chapter on its own. But we do know that in only these 13 pages that we got, a lot of new information was presented. One of the things was Yuta realized that even though he's inside Gojo's body, it is very difficult to pilot the body. We also see that Yuta is improving in the fight with Sukuna, but one of the things that I want to talk about the most, and I know that I saw this a bunch during leak night, Inumaki and Yuta are currently running a 2-person play where Inumaki is using Don't Move through a tape recorder to get Sukuna to stop moving, and while Sukuna is frozen, Yuta is going to try to land a purple on him. A lot of people think that Inumaki shouldn't even be powerful enough to make Sukuna stop moving, and then we do also have the question of if Yuta can pull off this purple, and if he does, will Sukuna have recovered from the Don't Move in time? And if it does hit Sukuna, how much damage will it do? All of these questions I'm going to cover in today's video. And if you enjoyed, then please subscribe. So the first question that we're going to be answering is whether or not Inumaki saying don't move to Sukuna, should this be working on Sukuna? Should Inumaki, at the power that he is, be able to get Sukuna to freeze? Because a lot of people have this idea that if you use curse speech on somebody who is much further in strength than you are, then the curse speech shouldn't work. Well, the thing is, we know that it should work, but the rebound on the curse speech user will be extremely high. For example, in Volume 0, we see that Inumaki used Get Twisted on a curse, and in return, Inumaki's hand twisted because the curse was powerful enough where the rebound twisted Inumaki's own hand because he tried to twist the cursed spirit. If the curse was weaker, then Inumaki's hand wouldn't have gotten twisted. He would have just been able to twist the cursed spirit without taking any rebound damage. And you might be wondering, well, we know from the Hanami fight that depending on the strength of the target, you might not be able to use curse speech at all. And the thing is, this is partially true. We saw that after Inumaki had been using Don't Move multiple times against Hanami, eventually, once he tried to say Don't Move again on Hanami, it didn't even come out because Hanami was strong enough and Inumaki was weak enough in the moment where curse speech just didn't work at all. But the thing is, here against Sukuna, Inumaki sort of already took account for this. He wasn't even going to try to use curse speech out of his own mouth at real time. He instead recorded himself saying Don't Move, then played it to Sukuna. This way he wouldn't run into that same problem that he did against Hanami. Because let's just be real here, if Inumaki tried to say Don't Move in real time, his throat would probably just explode. That's why they used the tape recorder instead, so that the curse speech would be guaranteed to come out. Now we see that Inumaki's throat is bleeding heavily. We won't know exactly how damaged he is, but one thing we do know is that the curse speech effectively worked, because we see that right after it gets played to Sukuna's ears, Yuta says it's going to work, and then he begins to launch his purple. Now let's tackle the second most important problem, and that is, will Sukuna even be frozen long enough for Yuta to hit him with this purple? Well, we have to look at how long people stay frozen in the past whenever Inumaki uses Don't Move. We know that in the fight against Hanami, each time Inumaki used Don't Move, it only froze Hanami long enough for them to hit him with one attack, and then Hanami was able to move again. It's sort of hard to tell exactly how long this was because it is manga, but it only seemed like for a couple seconds Hanami was not able to move. And keep in mind, this was Hanami, who is far weaker than Sukuna, so it would be reasonable to believe that if Hanami was only frozen for a couple seconds, Sukuna may not even be frozen for a second at all. He might just recover in under a second, not giving Yuta much time to launch a purple. And before I even keep talking about how long Sukuna will probably be stunned by this, I do just want to say, if this purple lands, I do think it will kill Sukuna, and this is also assuming that this purple that Yuta launches is the normal strength of a purple that Gojo launches. The main reason that I think Yuta's purple should be fatal to Sukuna is because we know that Sukuna just outright says that at close or medium range, purple just would kill him. He said this towards the end of the fight with Gojo when he was hiding inside of Maharaga's shadow, that at the current state he was in, a purple at that range would just kill him. And this was Sukuna, who was in pretty good shape. He had all of his limbs, he had Agito and Maharaga out, and he was gaining curse energy back. So this was a very good shaped Sukuna. The Sukuna we have right now is missing limbs and has half of his normal curse energy amount. So I 100% believe that if Yuta lands a purple against this Sukuna, then this Sukuna would die. But remember, this is wholly contingent on two things. One, that Sukuna actually gets hit, that he's not able to move for enough time for Yuta to launch the purple, and two, that Yuta's purple is as strong as Gojo's purple. Because if he is not proficient enough with the Limitless by this point to have his purple be on the level of Gojo's, then I'm not sure if Sukuna would die to it even if he did get hit dead on. But there is a good chance that this purple is as strong as normal Gojo's purple, because we see that Yuta says that it's going to work, he thinks he has it, and he is saying all of the chants perfectly. So with the combination of the chants, which are just supposed to amplify the strength of the technique and also make it more proficient, plus the fact that he is getting more used to Gojo's body as he fights, there is a good chance, a very good chance, that this purple has the strength to kill Sukuna. But I wouldn't say get your hopes up too much, because Gege has done this to us before, where we thought that Sukuna was in a dead-end scenario but just ended up getting out. Remember back when Higuruma and Yuji fought against Sukuna, and then we saw that Higuruma died but passed his sword to Yuji? It seemed like Yuji was about to stab Sukuna in the back, there was nothing that they could do about that, and Sukuna just ended up living anyway. The stab didn't kill Sukuna, and Sukuna just ended up fighting and cutting up Yuji some more. This scenario is similar to that one in that it seems like they have Sukuna trapped, he's frozen, and Yuta is charging up a large attack, but this is just another cliffhanger where it seems like Sukuna is at another dead-end scenario. And if I had to place a bet on if the fight is ending here, I don't think the fight is ending here. Whether it be Sukuna is able to move out of the way or he does get hit but the purple doesn't kill him. Because even if this purple doesn't kill Sukuna, or even if it doesn't land, it's not the end of the world. What we are currently seeing is proof that Yuta can adapt to using Gojo's body. He's much better at using it in this chapter than he was the last, even though he's not as good as Gojo is, but he is slowly getting the memories of Gojo's body and using it like Gojo once was. We saw that earlier in this recent chapter that he tried to launch a red but it failed, but now towards the end of the chapter he says once he's reading the memories of Gojo's body, he's about to launch a purple. So even if this purple misses, or if it doesn't kill Sukuna, this is still hope that Yuta is getting stronger inside of Gojo's body, so he will be able to perform better against Sukuna. And I shouldn't even have to say this, but if Yuta gets as proficient as Gojo was inside Gojo's body, then it's completely game over for Sukuna, because Sukuna is in a bad condition right now. And as Yuta said in this recent chapter, Sukuna cannot even use the World Cutting Slash in his current state. So say for example, if Prime full power Gojo were to return right now, he would undoubtedly kill Sukuna. If Yuta can get as strong as Gojo was as he gets used to Gojo's body, then we will most likely see Yuta defeat Sukuna. And with Sukuna being in the state he is in right now, literally the only way Yuta loses here is if Yuta loses the domain clash. But we do know that domains go down if you deal enough damage to the other person, which goes back to this whole thing of whether or not this purple will hit Sukuna. If it does, then Sukuna gets hit, loses the domain clash, and just dies. But on the other hand, if Sukuna can somehow avoid this purple and deal enough damage to Yuta, then Unlimited Void will collapse and Yuta will most likely lose or be in a very bad scenario instead. By now, I've pretty much given my opinion on everything that happened in the leaks, but there is one thing that I have no idea about. One thing that I have to ask you guys the answer for, because nobody seems to have it. What is Hikari doing? I am actually starting to wonder if Gege even cares about Hikari anymore, because as long as they've been fighting and no progress has been revealed, everybody's just almost forgotten about Hikari, and I haven't even heard anybody speak about Arame recently. But for everything that I've talked about in this video so far about this chapter, I genuinely do think that we're about to see one of the best climaxes in Jujutsu Kaisen. Whether or not this purple will land, or even just excluding this purple, this fight right here would determine everything. If this purple lands, if Yuta evolves within inside of Gojo's body, or if he devolves, if he can win the domain clash, or if he loses, everything is determined by what happens right here in this fight. But the only way for us to know what will happen is just for us to wait and see. And with that being said, I want to thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. And if you enjoyed, then I would really appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I do post on different topics that you guys give me and topics that I come up with on my own. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.